Welcome to our exploration of supply, demand, and market equilibrium. Markets are where buyers and sellers come together to exchange goods and services. Understanding how these forces interact is crucial for grasping the basics of economics. In this video, we'll break down the core concepts, starting with what markets are, why they exist, and how they function as the backbone of economic activity. Whether you're new to economics or just need a refresher, this journey will clarify how prices are set and resources are allocated efficiently. Let's begin with supply. Supply refers to the quantity of a good or service that producers are willing and able to offer for sale at different prices over a certain period. The higher the price, the more producers are motivated to supply since they can earn more profit. This relationship is known as the law of supply. Producers respond to price changes, adjusting their output to maximize returns. Understanding supply helps us see how businesses make decisions about what and how much to produce. Now let's talk about demand. Demand is the quantity of a good or service that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices during a specific time period. The law of demand states that as the price of a good rises, the quantity demanded falls, and vice versa. This happens because people tend to buy less of something when it becomes more expensive. Demand reflects consumer preferences and their ability to pay, shaping what is bought in the market. Law of supply is a fundamental principle in economics. It states that all else being equal, an increase in price results in an increase in the quantity supplied. Producers are more willing to supply goods when they can sell them at higher prices. This positive relationship between price and quantity supplied is typically represented as an upward-sloping supply curve on a graph. The law of supply helps explain why producers react to market signals and adjust their output accordingly. On the other hand, the law of demand describes how consumers respond to price changes. When prices go up, people tend to buy less. When prices drop, they buy more. This negative relationship between price and quantity demanded is shown as a downward-sloping demand curve. The law of demand is essential for understanding consumer behavior and how markets react to changes in price. It's a key reason why prices and quantities sold fluctuate in real-world markets. Supply curve is a graphical representation of the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity supplied. It typically slopes upward, reflecting the law of supply. Each point on the curve shows how much producers are willing to sell at a specific price. By analyzing the supply curve, we can predict how changes in market conditions, such as costs or technology, might affect the quantity supplied. Similarly, the demand curve illustrates the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded by consumers. It usually slopes downward, showing that higher prices lead to lower demand. Each point on the curve represents the amount consumers are willing to buy at a certain price. Understanding the demand curve helps us anticipate how changes in price or consumer preferences will impact the market. Market equilibrium is the point where the quantity supplied equals the quantity demanded. At this price, both buyers and sellers are satisfied and there is no pressure for the price to change. This balance ensures that resources are allocated efficiently and the market clears without shortages or surpluses. Market equilibrium is a central concept in economics, showing how supply and demand interact to determine prices. Equilibrium is reached through the interaction of buyers and sellers. If the price is too high, there will be a surplus, more goods than buyers want. Sellers will lower prices to attract more buyers. If the price is too low, there's a shortage, more buyers than goods available. This pushes prices up. Through these adjustments, the market naturally moves toward the equilibrium price where supply matches demand. Surplus occurs when the quantity supplied exceeds the quantity demanded at a given price. This often happens when prices are set too high. Sellers find themselves with unsold goods, which puts downward pressure on prices. To clear the surplus, sellers may offer discounts or reduce production. Surpluses are a signal for the market to adjust and move back toward equilibrium. Shortage happens when the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied at the current price. This usually means prices are too low and there aren't enough goods to go around. Buyers compete for limited products, which drives prices up. Shortages signal producers to increase output or raise prices, helping the market return to equilibrium. Supply can shift due to changes in production costs, technology, or the number of sellers. When supply increases, the supply curve shifts to the right, leading to lower prices and higher quantities. If supply decreases, the curve shifts left, causing higher prices and lower quantities. These shifts impact market equilibrium and can result from various economic factors. Demand can also shift due to changes in consumer income preferences or the prices of related goods. An increase in demand shifts the demand curve to the right, raising both price and quantity. A decrease shifts it left, lowering price and quantity. These shifts are important for understanding how markets respond to changing conditions and consumer behavior. Several factors can cause the supply curve to shift. These include changes in input prices, advancements in technology, government policies, taxes, and the number of sellers in the market. For example, if production costs fall due to new technology, supply increases. Understanding these causes helps explain why supply isn't static and can change over time. Demand shifts can be triggered by changes in consumer income, tastes, expectations, and the prices of substitutes or complements. For instance, if a new trend makes a product more popular, demand rises. Alternatively, if a substitute becomes cheaper, demand for the original product may fall. These factors show how dynamic consumer preferences shape the market. Prices act as signals in the market, guiding the decisions of buyers and sellers. When prices rise, it tells producers to supply more and consumers to buy less. When prices fall, the opposite happens. This signaling function helps allocate resources efficiently, ensuring goods go where they're most valued. Prices are a powerful tool for balancing supply and demand. Competition among sellers and buyers is essential for market efficiency. Sellers compete to offer better prices or higher quality while buyers compete for the best deals. This competition drives innovation, improves products, and keeps prices in check. It also ensures that resources are used where they're most productive, benefiting the entire economy. Consumer surplus is the difference between what consumers are willing to pay for a good and what they actually pay. It measures the benefit consumers receive from market transactions. When prices are lower than expected, consumer surplus increases, indicating greater satisfaction. This concept helps us understand the value consumers gain from participating in the market. Producer surplus is the difference between the price producers receive for a good and the minimum amount they're willing to accept. It represents the benefit producers gain from selling at market prices. Higher prices increase producer surplus, rewarding efficient producers. This concept highlights the gains sellers receive from participating in the market. Market is considered efficient when resources are allocated in a way that maximizes total surplus, meaning both consumer and producer surplus are as large as possible. At equilibrium, the market achieves this efficiency with no wasted resources or missed opportunities. Market efficiency is a key goal in economics, ensuring the best possible outcomes for society. Price floor is a minimum price set by the government above the equilibrium price. It's designed to help producers but can lead to surpluses if set too high. For example, minimum wage laws are a type of price floor. While they aim to protect workers, they can also result in more labor supply than demanded, causing unemployment. Price ceiling is a maximum price set below equilibrium, intended to help consumers. Rent control is a common example. While price ceilings make goods more affordable, they can lead to shortages as suppliers may not find it profitable to sell at lower prices. This can result in long lines or waiting lists for goods and services. Elasticity of demand measures how much the quantity demanded responds to a change in price. If demand is elastic, a small price change leads to a big change in quantity demanded. If it's inelastic, quantity demanded changes little with price. Understanding elasticity helps businesses and policymakers predict how consumers will react to price changes. Elasticity of supply measures how much the quantity supplied responds to price changes. If supply is elastic, producers can quickly increase output when prices rise. If it's inelastic, output changes slowly. This concept is important for understanding how markets adjust to shocks and how flexible producers are in meeting demand. Markets are dynamic, constantly changing in response to new information, trends, and events. Shifts in supply and demand, technological advances, and changes in consumer preferences all impact market equilibrium. Understanding these dynamics helps us anticipate how markets will evolve and respond to challenges. Expectations about future prices or income can influence both supply and demand. If consumers expect prices to rise, they may buy more now, increasing current demand. If producers expect higher prices, they might hold back supply. These expectations can shift market equilibrium and cause price fluctuations. Governments sometimes intervene in markets to correct failures or achieve social goals. This can include setting price floors or ceilings, providing subsidies, or imposing taxes. While intervention can help address issues like inequality or market power, it can also create unintended consequences such as surpluses or shortages. Taxes increase the cost of goods, reducing supply or demand depending on who bears the burden. Subsidies lower costs, encouraging more production or consumption. Both tools are used by governments to influence market outcomes, but they can also distort equilibrium and create inefficiencies if not carefully managed. Externalities are side effects of market activity that affect third parties. They can be positive, like education benefits, or negative, like pollution. Markets may fail to account for these effects, leading to overproduction or underproduction. Addressing externalities often requires government intervention to ensure efficient outcomes. Market failure occurs when markets do not allocate resources efficiently on their own. Causes include externalities, public goods, and information asymmetry. In these cases, government intervention may be necessary to correct the failure and improve outcomes for society as a whole. Public goods are goods that are non-excludable and non-rivalrous, meaning everyone can use them and one person's use doesn't reduce availability for others. Examples include national defense and clean air. Markets often underprovide public goods, so governments step in to ensure they are available to all. Information asymmetry occurs when one party in a transaction has more or better information than the other. This can lead to market failures such as adverse selection or moral hazard. For example, in the used car market, sellers may know more about the car's condition than buyers, leading to inefficient outcomes. Technology plays a major role in shaping supply and demand. Advances in technology can lower production costs, increase supply, and create new products that shift demand. Technology also improves market efficiency by making information more accessible and transactions faster and easier. Markets are not limited by borders. Global trade connects buyers and sellers worldwide, increasing competition and access to goods. Changes in one country's supply or demand can affect prices and equilibrium in other countries. Understanding global markets is essential in today's interconnected economy. Different markets have different structures from perfect competition to monopoly. In perfectly competitive markets, many sellers offer identical products, leading to efficient outcomes. In monopolies, one seller controls the market, which can lead to higher prices and less efficiency. Market structure influences how supply, demand, and equilibrium work. Monopolies and oligopolies are market structures where one or a few firms dominate. Monopolies can set prices and restrict output, while oligopolies may collude to control the market. These structures often require regulation to protect consumers and ensure fair competition. In perfect competition, many sellers offer identical products and no single seller can influence the market price. This leads to efficient outcomes, with prices reflecting the true value of goods. Perfect competition is an idealized model, but it helps us understand how real markets strive for efficiency. Let's look at some real-world examples of supply, demand, and equilibrium. The housing market, for instance, often experiences shifts in supply and demand due to changes in interest rates or population growth. Similarly, the oil market reacts to global events, affecting prices and equilibrium worldwide. Consider the smartphone market. When a new model is released, demand often spikes, leading to higher prices until supply catches up. Over time, as more phones are produced and competition increases, prices fall and equilibrium is restored. This case shows how supply and demand interact in a fast-moving industry. Some markets are affected by seasonal changes. For example, demand for holiday decorations or winter clothing rises at certain times of the year. Producers anticipate these changes and adjust supply accordingly. Seasonal markets highlight the importance of timing in supply and demand decisions. Market shocks are sudden events that disrupt supply or demand, such as natural disasters or political crises. These shocks can cause rapid changes in prices and equilibrium. Markets often adjust over time, but shocks can have lasting effects on supply, demand, and overall stability. Long-term trends, such as population growth or technological progress, shape supply and demand over time. These trends can shift market equilibrium and create new opportunities or challenges. Understanding long-term trends helps businesses and policymakers plan for the future. To sum up, supply, demand, and market equilibrium are the foundation of economics. They explain how prices are set, how resources are allocated, and how markets respond to changes. By understanding these concepts, we can better navigate the economic world and make informed decisions as consumers, producers, or policymakers. Applying these concepts helps us understand everyday economic decisions, from shopping for groceries to investing in stocks. Recognizing how supply and demand affect prices can guide our choices and help us anticipate market trends. These principles are not just theoretical, they impact our daily lives in countless ways. Thank you for joining us on this journey through supply, demand, and market equilibrium. These concepts are essential for understanding how markets work and why prices change. By mastering these ideas, you'll be better equipped to analyze economic issues and make smart choices in both business and daily life. Stay curious and keep exploring the fascinating world of economics.